Hello, everyone. This is the 14th edition of GamerGate Interview. Today we have Variloh. Say hello.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So let's get right into it. So how did you get into GamerGate, Variloh?
Well, I guess my story isn't as different as a lot of people's. I pretty much just saw the Monday. It started with me seeing the Monday Matt, hearing about the Monday Matt takedown from Internet Aristocrat. Um, and pretty much just snowballed from there, kind of following everything that happened back when it wasn't even Gamergate, when it was the conspiracy, and then watching it evolve from that. Before that, I was actually doing when I had this little Twitch show, which is similar in format to what you do. Um, Wait, sorry about that. Got a little echo there. Okay. Similar in format to what you do here, the Underdog. I was talking about a lot of things that I thought were changing in the gaming industry. I was more on the side of hype and pre-order and DLC and all these things that were changing, not necessarily for the best. And I felt that the industry was changing. And when Gamergate hit, it was something that I followed because I felt this was something that was a long time coming. I didn't necessarily know about the whole, I didn't think it was going to be games journalism that was going to blow everything out of the water, but I'm not complaining where it started. So that's how I got in.
All right. Um, so how or what do you think of GamerGate currently, and what are you doing within the hashtag?
Okay, so that's a pretty long question, so I'm going to unpackage it. The first part is, what do I think, of GamerGate right now? Well, it's come a long way. It's been 8 months. Nobody would have guessed that this was going to be going on for so long. As I said, I think it was something in a long time coming. I think there were just so many things that were not going necessarily the right way in gaming industry, and this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And obviously, it helped that nobody listened to us. That we were, it was kind of a shut up and keep, carry on, kind of a situation that we all faced and we still face to this day. Um, we've come a long way since then. We've kind of realized, certain things. We've kind of grown as a movement, and you know, I don't like kind of putting it out there, but I do think we were kind of immature at the beginning, not because we did any, negative actions or any of the crap that's pointing at us, but because of the nature of this entire situation. I mean, if you really think about it, this consumer revolt is very different than revolts you've seen in other forms of media. A lot of people like to say, "Oh no, it's the same," but it really isn't. This whole thing blew up in part because a lot of people trusted games journalists, but in not in a consumer, consumer producer kind of way, but in a we're part of the same team kind of way. We were all gamers at the end, and that's kind of how the whole games journalism thing happened. And it's kind of the same situation we have with YouTube now. And people felt that this was our media and it was in a bubble and it wasn't affected by all the other crap that's going on in journalism outside of the gaming industry. So we were kind of it was kind of like a friend slapping you in the face when we realized that all this was going on, and we were kind of in this state that if anybody was nice to us, we'd kind of believe them, and we'd kind of go thank you very much, and we'd kind of support them. We saw examples later on, like with people like Drain Man, for example. That was kind of the case of that. Um, Jim Sterling at the beginning, after before he went 180 on us. Uh, Now I think that we're at this point where we've realized that just pointing out corruption isn't going to be enough. At the beginning, that's all we pretty much did. We just pointed out corruption, said there's shit, burn to the ground, and you're done. Now we've kind of realized that that's not the only solution. It's important to do, but it's not the only solution anymore. It's not the only thing we can do because, I know at least when it comes to me, a conversation I've had with a friend of mine. I'm sure you've had a similar conversation. I'm sure a lot of people in Gamergate have had a similar conversation. Is well, he'd go like, well, Polygon is shit. I tell him, and Kotaku and all that. And he'd go, okay, so what do I read? And I'd kind of stutter for a moment and go, well, how about The Escapist, Tech Raptor, Shift to Block 20. Uh, but it's kind of that fumbling, kind of that moment where we don't really know what to answer. It's much better now, and a lot of people immediately, kind of go there. But we've realized that we can't, just destroy. We have to build up. And when it comes to these sites that we usually point out, we've also realized that it can't just be up to them. It can't be this thing that, okay, now we have these three sites, or these, they're the guys and they have to fix it. And that's, we've realized that that's not the thing. And that's kind of what I've been trying to concentrate on, to keep going with your question. That's kind of what I've been trying to focus on now, to build my own content, to kind of, build myself from the ground up, YouTube wise, game development wise, website wise, even sprinkling a little bit of webcomics here and there. Um, because at the end of the day, the only people who can really fix this is us. We can't really delegate this for the escapists. You got to fix this. You're the new James Media or Tech Raptor or Shift to Block 20. They're good solutions. They're there, and it's important that we continue to support them. But I think that a lot of people in GamerGate are now trying to take a more hands-on approach. We've seen a lot more smaller YouTubers show up. We've seen a lot more people, get into writing, and really progress as you've done, the Androdol. You've really come a long way since 8 months ago, and it's been really fun to watch, both YouTube and writing wise. So now I'm at this stage in GamerGate where I'm not as informed in all of the happenings. I'm more interested in, okay, let's build things. Let's create. Let's give people that alternative. You know, I don't think that Polygon and Kotaku and those people were going to burn them to the ground just by taking away their ads and just you know poking at them all day. I think it has to be a we're going to take your audience kind of thing, and I feel that's where GamerGate's heading, and that's where we're kind of you know figuring out right now. And a small add-on of that is I also think that a lot of people are starting to realize that there's more corruption in video games journalism than just the websites, just the bloggers. There's more. A lot of people are kind of now starting to take a look at YouTubers who are the new uh, gaming media. We've heard people like Total Biscuit say that the traditional blogger, which is now traditional, is not even 8 years old if we really look at it, but the now traditional blogger style of gaming news and game journalism, it's been a dying breed for a while, and YouTubers are now taking over, and a lot of people are now kind of pointing and going, okay, well, let's look at them. Let's not have the same thing happen twice. And that's something that, as you know, and anybody who knows about me, is something that I've been pointing at for quite some time. I think that we do need to kind of now shift a little bit towards the YouTubers and realize that they're the ones that dominate. They're the ones on top right now, and they need to be told what's okay and what's not, because at the end of the day, those people they're just people and they're corruptible. Total Biscuit is corruptible. Uh, you know, Pretty much any big YouTuber, Sargon is corruptible. They're all corruptible, and they need us, the audience. It's part of our responsibility to kind of keep them in line. So that's my long-winded response to your question.
That's all right. So to the next question, what would you like to see, or what do you think Gamergate is going to become in the future?
Well, that's a two-part answer. I have to answer you as both a aspiring game developer, indie game developer, I guess would be the correct title, and as a consumer. As an indie game developer, I personally hope Gamergate never leaves, because for the first time in pretty much the history of our industry, we have a situation where consumers can directly talk to each other. One of the most interesting and fascinating things about Gamergate is to watch people in Gamergate talk about things that aren't Gamergate. Talk about, I like this new YouTuber I watched, or I play this new game, and just get together and form a really solid community. And that's something that's been missing in the gaming industry for a long time, that we've been separated by petty things as console wars. Do I personally hail the PC master race? Of course I do, but that's a different topic. We've been divided by what publisher I follow, what website I read. We've been kind of bickering amongst ourselves for the longest of time. And Gamergate, at least inside Gamergate, despite the fact that you have egos flaring up here and there, despite the fact that you have people who disagree, it's really fun to watch when these people kind of, there's nothing to talk about Gamergate or happening wise, and just kind of get together and say, okay, what about this? Hey, let's read this, or did you see this game? So as a developer, I hope that never leaves, because it pretty much, the one thing that these websites really fear about Gamergate, it's not the ads, it's not the pointing out of the corruption, it's the fact that the consumers are united, and there's nothing a corrupt group of salesmen, which is what they are, they're salesmen, hate more than a group of educated and united consumers, because they have the power to, they're taking away the power to do things like sync developers. You can't do that anymore. They're doing things like giving out a bad review, when we used to 5 years ago take a, see a review and go, oh, that's a 5 out of 10, I'm not buying that. Now nobody really trusts them anymore, and we kind of ask ourselves. So as a developer, I hope that Gamergate stays. We've seen a lot of indie developers kind of rise up a bit with Gamergate. A lot of games that wouldn't have gotten supported, like Honey Pop, get supported, and talked about, despite the negatives being put out by other people. And by people, I mean games, big games companies. So I hope Gamergate doesn't leave. Maybe just morph a bit, from but at least the community aspect to stay. As a consumer, I hope that Gamergate shifts to YouTubers a little bit. I think that YouTubers are something that we do need to look at. A lot of people lately have been tweeting at me and saying, "Hey, the whole Angry Joe thing. Good job on that video. That was cool. You're right. We should have this conversation." But I'm not the only one, and he's not the only YouTuber that people have been pointing to. And it's not now. We've been doing that for 3-4 months now, and nobody kind of wanted to have that conversation. And there's still a lot of people who are resistant to having that conversation. So I really hope that Gamergate starts to shift a little bit more towards YouTubers, and of course continues to build things up, whether it be YouTubers, websites, game developers, whatever, continues to build those things up. I think those are the focuses. I think that at this point, Polygon and Kotaku's reputation, which is more important than the ads, it's more important than the clicks, their reputation is devastated beyond repair. After at this point, we're pretty much just stomping the course. So I do think that we should look at YouTubers who do have a fair amount of power, more than these websites at this point. I think we also need to continue building things up, promoting people who we think are not just Gamergaters, but maybe people outside of Gamergator, like the Christian website that they're doing things right. I don't endorse organized religion, but you can't help but respect what those people are doing, and they're not Gamergate. So those are the two things I hope that Gamergate kind of goes towards, and I hope I answered your question.
Do you think it's gonna become a watchdog?
I don't know if that would be the correct term, because to become a watchdog, you kind of have to have the everybody listening to you, or have the capability of kind of getting everybody riled up. And Gamergate, I don't know if they're going to have that a year from now. We are a group of people. We are a very strong and united community in certain ways, and kind of bickering in others. What I don't know is if we're going to have the same impact on the general public we had when this started. I hope we do. I'm kind of tossing my hat into it, but I think more than a watchdog, I think we're going to become more a community. Is the real word. Not just there to point bullshit out, but also to build and kind of promote things. That's where I think the whole thing is going.
All right. So the big question. I know you have kind of a big opinion on this. What would you like to change within the hashtag, and what do you think the best things Gamergate is doing right now?
Well, the number one thing I think we should change is factional faggotry. That needs to die. That needs to go away. We kind of, it's, I guess it's instinctual that we kind of draw our lines in the sand, past grudges. We've done it throughout the history of our industry. There's always been some kind of thing that separated us, and we've seen it in Gamergate. We've seen people being separated. Um, I'd like to change that. I'd also like to, I think there's not tone policing, but there are certain topic policing that we don't want to touch. The ban on talking about people like Angry Joe and YouTubers in general, it's starting to lift now at this point. It's starting to fade away, so that's good. But you very well know that that's one I wanted to, I think should have been lifted a long time ago. But at the end of the day, I think that it has to be things like there shouldn't be taboos. And I think that Gamergate needs to understand that you can't have ethics with social justice warriors dominating the discussion. At the end of the day, and a lot of people don't like this, but Milo hit the nail on the head. We are in a culture war, whether we like it or not, and we are just a reflection of that. This is something bigger that's been going on for a long time um, in other areas, and we're just the latest casualty. We have to eliminate that mentality that we're separate. It shouldn't come to a surprise that journalism was corrupt when journalism in general has been broken for the last 40, 30, 40 years. And much greater people than myself have been saying it for longer than that. So, we have to ban the uh, taboo topics. We do have to realize that it's time to face social justice warriors, and we do need to stop caring about our unfixable image. That's something that we've slowly shed. We've slowly shed with the with the increasing of the time, but we still to this day care way too much about an image that we can't fix. We're very very much trying to prove to the world that we're not horrible people, when the media isn't going to change the way they cover us until it becomes something that they have to do. And even then, most of them are just going to, Kotaku isn't going to shift 180, and MSNBC isn't going to do a good coverage of us. They're going to go down with their ship, and they're going to go down swinging because they're so entrenched in culture. Um, but we do need to understand that the first step for us, despite the fact that we're part of a larger war, we need to understand that until we remove social justice warriors from positions of control in the gaming industry, this is not going to be a fight that we're going to win. It's not going to be. It's never going to end. So we need to realize that. We need to understand that they're the enemy. It's not a coincidence that Anita Sarkeesian, Brianna Wu, and Zoe Quinn are talentless people in their respective areas. It's not a coincidence. They're pushing these ideas because they lack talent and they can't make it in a free market. So we kind of need to understand that it's an ideology that we're facing. And as I said, a lot of people have pretty much are pretty much down with that. But I do feel that we kind of as a group have to realize, yeah, it's about ethics in game journalism, but the only way you can do that is by facing the social justice warrior problem. So I hope that answers your question and didn't deviate too much.
Well, that sounds good. I'm looking at the chat, and they have some question. Ian had a good question. Who styles your hair?
Excuse me?
Who Ian from the GamerGate Ultras? He asked, who styles your hair?
Oh, who styles my hair? I do it myself mostly. Um, but I stole it from a 12-year-old girl. That's the correct answer. Stole it from a 12-year-old girl. So I do it myself, modeled after a 12-year-old girl. That's my thing.
um, Ian asked another one. Whilst I agree that anyone can become corrupted, should we be concerned with examining people who have patently not done anything corrupt?
Well, you see, that's a great question, and that's kind of the thing that I usually get when I say that. People usually go, "But why are you going to remain vigilant of somebody who's never fucked up?" Well, here's the reason. All of these people, at one point or another, had never fucked up. You're not born into an industry or born into fame or born into this, already being a bad guy. It's something that happens over time, and the way it happens is when no boundaries are drawn in the sand, when there is no limit to what you can do, and they slowly, take a little bit more, just a little bit more. And the problem is that there's no institution that regulates them. There's nothing. It's just the consumer. So the more we let them get away with, the more they're going to do. Because once again, when you're in a position of influencing so many people, power it historically is always corrupted. And if no one is telling you this is okay, this isn't, you're going to keep taking. And again, I don't think there's a single person in Gamergate that Gamergate supports that hasn't fucked up at one point or another. I can, just to give you a couple of examples, I admire a lot of what Total Biscuit has done, but he stuck up for a corrupt douchebag, which was Joe back in December. He helped silence that conversation. Boogie's another guy that he's a fantastic individual, but he's also done things like, he's been a part of the whole paid promotion thing since before the Shadow of Mordor went out. He's
Yeah,
also
I know he took Xbox One and PS4 as paid promotions.
and then he acted like, oh, this is going on, and I'm here for you, and it's about disclosure. Yeah, but you had already fucked up. And again, the whole nice guy thing, I do believe he's a good person. I do think that his naiveness is an act. And the reason I say that is that if you go and search for a Black Preon stream, Boogie will make very clear that at the end of the day, Boogie sticks up for Boogie, not for the people. Boogie looks out for himself. Um, and I'm not saying that's not evil per se, and that's not a word I like using because it's really subjective, but it does shine a light on this persona that he kind of acts, that he's about love and it's about all of us, when in reality, he's going to do what's right for him. So what I'm saying is that these people aren't corrupt not to support these people, boycott these people, but these people fuck up. So and I can, and there's, I don't think there's a single person. Sargon went really light on Angry Joe's thing, on Angry Joe's you know, uh, anti GG propaganda, which is what I'm calling it now, in his controversies video, and that wasn't okay of him to do either, because you're endorsing a negative message about us, and you're spreading misinformation in a way. So again, I'm not clean either. I've done some fuck ups too. So it's up to us, and we do it on the smaller scale. Like if I fuck up, people, like for example, when my channel was terminated and I immediately pointed the finger at the AJSA because the videos in questions were AJSA videos, and I pointed the finger at them, people immediately corrected me and said, do you have evidence? No, then fuck off. And that was correct. And we do that on a smaller scale. But when it comes to bigger YouTubers, bigger celebrities, people that we adore, we're not as comfortable doing that. So I think we do need to trace the line in the sand for them and take a look at them. And at the end of the day, corruption from a little guy or fuck ups from a little guy is not going to be as impactful as one fuck up from a big guy. So I do think we need to remain vigilant on them, even if they haven't done anything.
Okay. Pterodax asked in the chat who your favorite wrestler is and why it's John Cena.
Well, actually, it's been a while since I watched wrestling. Not as much as many people, uh, uh, but my favorite wrestler has always been Shawn Michaels, not John Cena.
Okay. And from Personal and Chips, how do you hope people in the future remember Gamergate? That's a good question.
How do I hope people remember the game? Okay, well, that's kind of a. There's how I hope, and then there's what I think is going to happen, and what I think people need to kind of deal with. And before I answer that question directly, I'm going to give you a small, kind of backstory to understand why I think this way. When I did the whole AJSA and the Angry Joe stuff, in my mind, I accepted the fact that I'm not going to become a big YouTuber as a consequence. No big YouTuber has become big by doing that kind of thing. So I accepted that. And it's not a martyr thing, it's not a hero thing, it's simple facts. And Gamergate needs to realize that history is not going to remember us kindly while SJWs control the media and while SJWs are writing the book, because they are writing the book of history right now. They are in control. We're the small rebels. They're the empire. They're the Yankees. We're the, formerly the Red Sox. Red Sox are kind of a dynasty now too. But so everyone in Gamergate needs to understand that we're not going to be remembered as heroes, most likely, at least not in the next 10, 15, 20 years. I would like eventually, with the social justice warrior agenda crumbles in and of itself, and it will, because I've seen it from the inside. I lived in the Caribbean. I've seen social justice warriors take over on a smaller scale. They took over my high school, and eventually they'll eat each other and they'll disintegrate. And the people who are worth it will try to build things back up. And I can tell that story later if you're interested. But um, you know, at least for the short term, we're not going to be the heroes. We're not going to be the good guys. We're not going to be remembered as, the people who stood up for gaming. We're always going to have that tag of internet trolls on us. Do I think it can change? It can if we win. It can if we win. And the way we win is by building our own storybook, by building, our own encyclopedia of history. And it's going to be a long and drawn out fight. And I hope we're remembered at the very least as the group of people who pointed out what was rotten and built up bigger and greater things. But I think that's really long, down the line, maybe when I have a little bit more gray hair. Um, as for now, we're doing the right fight. We're doing the right thing, all of us, and we will all suffer consequences one way or another. People think that they won't, just because they're not game developers or they're not YouTubers, but we all will suffer or have already suffered consequences for this. But what we need to remember is that A, we all love the industry, and B, I think that most people here don't mind being called the villain if we fix the industry. So I hope that answers that question.
All right. Paulie asks, do you think we are setting enough of an example for others to fight back SJW crap?
I'm gonna assume that what he means is by others, he means other forms of media, other forms of entertainment, and other places. Um, that's kind of a hard one to answer because only time will tell at the end of the day. But I do think that we're doing good in when it comes to pointing things out, when it comes to contradicting things. I do things that other groups have taken note. Um, but I do think that the big problem is that we haven't embraced the fact that we are fighting SJWs. If we would have embraced it fully, if we would have embraced, it's about fighting SJWs in game journalism. If we'd be saying messages like that, and we've kind of shifted it, as I said in the recent months, we've kind of realized in the last 4 months that we can't fix anything until SJWs are gone. But if we embrace that message more fully, we are going to see other people come to us. We are going to see people go, yeah, these fuckers in gaming did it. We can do it too. And I've warned it 100 times, and I can't wait till it happens. But it's going to happen in anime. You're going to see SJWs go after anime. Not anime. Excuse me. We've seen it happen in comic books, and it hasn't gone well for them. Um, we've seen it happen in music, and it's going to get worse in music. Comedy is also taken that hit. If you look at Chris Rock, he no longer does stuff at colleges because of how conservative they can be, and they're supposedly the liberal people. By conservative, I mean that they don't tolerate certain jokes. So I do think we're doing good, but I think we need to make our message a little louder. I think we need to be a little bit more united on SJWs are the problem. And when we do that, they will come to us. And keep in mind that most of these places, we're also in it too. It's not you're a gamer and you're not anything else. If you're a gamer, you don't like anime. No, not true. There's a lot of crossover there. And the louder our message and the more organized we get, the more people from other forms of media are going to come to us. It's not going to be us having to look for them like we're trying to do now, trying to bring people who are against Gamergate on streams and talk to them and convince them, which is good work, might I add. But it's going to become more of them coming to us. It's right now it's a lot of us going to them, and if we were setting a powerful enough example, we wouldn't have to do that. So we're doing good, but I think we could do better. Is the short answer, Paulie.
All right. Um, I know you are somewhat of a controversial figure, and you get a lot of crap for what you say. So I hope people understand a little bit better where you're coming from when you're on my streams and your channel as well, uh, because you're doing your own stuff on your own channel, right?
Yeah, I do. I try to be. My dad always taught me that if you're going to say shit, you have to back it up. So, I talk about building websites. I built a website with my girlfriend Elenka. Everybody knows it at this point. That is my girlfriend. We built a website. We're building a company. I'm an indie game developer, and I put it up for free so people can judge, and I don't ask anybody for money to do it. Um, I do have my YouTube where I don't do just point at Angry Joe and say you're a horrible person. I actually do, comedy things and stuff like that. And I think I'm not special is what people need to get. I'm not special at all. And I'm not this uncontrollable asshole. I can be an asshole, but I'm not this uncontrollable asshole. I think it's just, I just try to back up what I say. And if people, I usually say that YouTubers have a moral responsibility to their audience, and I try to act in accordance to that, which is why I put out the AJSA stuff, which is why I did the video on Angry Joe. Normally if you ask for something on my channel, I'll probably do it if it's in my possibilities. I'll probably do it, or I'll respond to you in a comment or something. So again, I'm just following what I believe in, and if you disagree with me, that's fine. Just try to point it out why, and not call me a jackass. Only you can call me a jackass. I kind of am, but try to disprove me, which is what I've told a lot of my critics. Not just make a little hate video saying you hate me, uh, which if you want to do, it's fine, but you're not really helping anyone, and you're certainly not helping yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I want to have people with various opinions, and sometimes I disagree with you, but for the most part, I agree with you, and that's just how things are. And we're not what the SJW say, the special snowflakes. We're all just regular people who are passionate about this. Um, yeah, do you want to shill your stuff before we close it? I'm not seeing any more questions.
Always. Um, as I said, I have a website where I put up free games. The whole idea there is to I don't want to. I think Kickstarter is kind of broken, and if I'm going to back my own shit, I have to find a model that works. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build, video games and put them up for free and have the people decide if it's worth anything. So I put up free games on it. More are coming. There's only one small demo right now, but we've been working on about three. Two of them are going to hit the website in the upcoming weeks. Um, so you'll see games, web-based games and Android games. You'll see them on that website as well as my YouTube content. I also, a lot of people don't know this, but I also co-write a web comic, which is up on that website. So all my stuff is on that website. If you're not into that, if you don't want to support the website, then you can just go to my YouTube channel where I do SJW comedy stuff and some video game stuff here and there, and pretty much just state my opinion. And if you want to call, if you want to give me one more and call me out on something that you thought I got wrong, then you can always tweet it at me, or you can just go to the comment section and do that. So
Yeah,
that's
I put your stuff in the description, so if they wanna search you up, they can.
okay.
Um, I don't see any questions, so yeah, I want to thank you for coming on and answering these questions. And if you want to be in one of those, just tweet at me or try to contact me through the comment section or whatever, because I want to get as many people as possible on these interviews. Yeah. Any last words, Variloh?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me on. You've been one of the people who's kind of had my back since the beginning. A lot of people don't know that, but you took a look back when I did the AJSA, and it wasn't popular to point at Angry Joe as it is now. It is kind of popular to do that now. Were one of the people who listened, who looked at it, and said, "Yeah, this is worth having a conversation about." So, first off, thank you for doing that. It really, you have no idea how much it means, and I think you do great work, not just here, but I do think that your writing is pretty much. You know, Showing journalists what they should be doing. In fact, you're probably not comfortable with that tag. I think you've heard you say it before, but I consider you at this point a real journalist in comparison to them. So, just thanks for having me on, man, and giving me the opportunity. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be here.
Yeah, and you're always welcome to come on my streams, as I've said. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and thank you for coming on. And
Thank you, Paulie.
see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.